Hi, you just watched Millennial Killer, and I am lucky enough to be joined by the director, Sam Mason Bell, and
Hello.
producer, Martin Payne. Hi, guys. How are
Hello.
you doing?
Yeah, doing good.
Good.
Yeah, hopefully everyone enjoyed it.
I would hope so. Yeah, I mean, I really love it. I think it's a real grim, entertaining, black, weird comedy. I think it's great.
That's exactly what we set out to make an entertaining horror film. You've hopefully defined it as what it should be. It's bleak, but it's a bit funny. It's a bit,
Yeah,
dark comedy, definitely.
exactly. It's very grim, very bleak, but the comedy does come through. I think anyway. It's got a brilliant, true sort of indie movie making story behind it, which I'd love you guys to talk me through. Which I think is fantastic.
Fine, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, I'll start on this. Yeah, the story behind it. I had a location become available to me for a period of time, and so I said to Sam, "Look, free location. You don't get free locations normally, so free location. What can we do that is quick, simple, cheap, bit dirty, but just get in there, create a film, and get out." And Sam said, leave it with me. I've got an idea. And he went away and we sort of talked about, it'd be good if we sort of limited the budget to, I mean, everyone talks about no budget. That is not a real thing. No budget is never real. But we sort of said, well, let's see if we can keep it down to £500. Sam went away, Sam wrote something, Sam came back, and what you've just watched is what he came back with, which has sort of got 18 characters in it. It took us slightly longer than we anticipated to film it. I think our total shoot time was around about 20, 24 hours, something like that, spread over a weekend and a couple of other days, and we actually spent about £1,500 on it. So yeah, independent film. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. Yeah. So 20 hours. How did you make this film in 20 hours? How does that happen?
Oh,
Fast.
that's how we made it.
How do you organize it? To make a 72 minute, is it 72
Yeah,
minute
yeah.
film in that short space of time? It must have been like horrendous.
Well, we have Martin's expertise, which always help. And personally, my experience is I've done a lot of 48-hour film challenges where you have to make like a short film, but I'm used to making films in like a compressed couple of days. And Martin, being an amazing producer, like just stepped in and got all the actors in. They'd like come in like every couple of hours to be a new victim. It was quite intense, but we just wanted to have that energy and be able to do it within that time. We had the crew there, and yeah, we had more shoots that came after that. Because most of the filmmaking that I do is from improvised bullet points. So we put the story together and we'll watch it and be like, okay, we can expand on that point there, or we could bring something new into that point. So it was good in the long run, but it wasn't. Mine wanted it more, within the time that I was told to make the film, not more and more different dates and different places. But it worked out in the end. So yeah.
Yeah, it worked out in the end, and I think the brilliance behind it is the story holds. The story works for the location and the other locations that we went to, but I think the big advantage and the more of the preparation that went into it before we even started. So as Sam has just said, you find actors who are comfortable improvising. That speeds things up because you simply say to them, "This is your character. This is what we want you to do. Do it." And originally, Simon Berry, who plays the estate agent for the UK or the real estate agent for the US, we suddenly had that difficulty. He wasn't originally due to play that part. In fact, I think, and Sam will correct me, about what, a week and a half, 2 weeks before we started shooting,
Yeah.
I was due to play that part. And I just looked at all the preparation that needed to be done and all the arrangements for getting actors to come in at the right time, picking them up from the railway station or whatever, making sure they were there to do their job. Needed someone full time on it during the shoot. So I swapped out, Simon stepped in, and I have to just say, he did a superb job.
Yeah.
One, I now look at him and think I cannot imagine anyone else in that role. And the most astounding thing that he did for me was I was at the location we were using early, and he arrived with the rest of the crew from Portsmouth. And I looked at him and thought, why is he wearing a hat? Because he'd actually shaved his head for the part.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
He really doesn't look that creepy in real. Well, he does, but
Simon's like a punk, bit of an old raver from the 90s, not a middle-aged estate agent serial killer. You know,
Wow. Okay.
that's
So
what
you-
it is.
so you may have been watching the film and thinking, that suit really works well for the estate
Yeah.
agent because it really doesn't fit.
Yeah.
That's because it was my suit and he's slightly smaller than me.
Simon's
You see?
Why waste the costume?
That's amazing. Wow. One of the things I really like about the film is obviously, apart from the dark humor, is the colors. There's lots of sort of yellow colors flying around. Is that intentional, or was that?
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to. I love giallo colors. I love what Argento does with things like Suspiria, and I just thought, well, we're making something that's entertaining here. Why not bring that into it? And yeah, it was nice to play with the different colors with using like the blues and the pinks to play with the more like alarming moments, and the bit where she's sitting there and the undead came to life. I really wanted that to be this like harsh pink. I don't know. It was just fun to experiment with different colors and just make it feel like a House of Hell, which is something I've been looking at recently with horror films, with that whole genre of hell houses, where everything goes wrong in the house and it's just the worst place to be. And because it's quite an ordinary flat with nothing in it, why not fill it full of all these colors just to make it a little bit, a bit different, a bit stranger.
So was that actually your flat?
Yeah, it's a flat that I rent out, and tenants were in it. They were leaving, so just getting in between different sets of tenants.
So you did actually put the chandelier up there?
No. The chandelier surprised me as much as anybody else, because when I walked in on the Friday night, which is the first time I've been in the flat for some time, I thought, where did that come from, basically? And of course, that was never mentioned in anything that we talked about earlier, because it wasn't a known. So every time you see in the film references to the chandelier, that's just Simon basically riffing one on the fact that it exists. And we didn't notice it really at the time, I think. I think it was only as we were watching all the footage back afterwards and in the edit, and you suddenly go, there's a lot of references to chandelier. And for me, the first time we showed the whole film to an audience on a test screening basis, they suddenly started laughing about the references to the chandelier.
Yeah.
At which point I thought, yeah, we planned that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely something I noticed. I loved it, There's I tend to find a lot of people with sort of low budget films, and definitely sort of micro budget films like Millennial Killer. A lot of people are instantly turned off just because it doesn't have the same sort of production values as a big Hollywood blockbuster. How do you guys deal with that? How do you feel about that? Obviously, the majority of the reviews that I see, public reviews about these kinds of films, tend to be instantly, I don't like this because I don't like the fact that it didn't cost 20 million. How do you respond to all that?
I don't know. Personally, as a director, especially within horror, creativity has to come first. So it's getting creatively around those areas where, the sound might not be perfect, or camera work might be a little bit messy. And I don't know, for me, when it comes to reviews, if you're in an audience with people, they do not care about a single one of those things. When there's an IMDb crowd, which tends to get trolled a lot, they seem to care about every single one of those aspects.
Yeah.
Whereas, reviewers, again, it's depending on what kind of reviewers, because some reviewers have the understanding that you're walking into a film called The Millennial Killer. And if you've watched the trailer, you should get an understanding of, all right, it's a bit low budget. It shouldn't stop anyone wanting to make films because they have to be the highest qualities. People still love good storytelling, good performing, and hopefully some good direction. That's why I've always tried to get a little bit stronger on those elements of our films. But if they can't be perfect, I have to go, well, there's no budget, or it's like it's extremely low. This is just how it's got to be until we can get to that point where someone wants to put funding into us. We're not going to stop trying to tell stories and just build the money. So much of filmmaking gets stuck in just get the money, get the money. But if the story can be told, it should always be at least try to. Sorry, I went off a bit there, but
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's something that's always I've been curious about. I say I grew up.
I think as well. Sorry, I think the fact is, yeah, you can look at an independent film, low budget, no budget, made on a shoestring, whatever you want to describe it as. You need to watch it with the right frame of mind, but also you need to actually respect that in that film, that whole genre, the whole range of independent films, there's a lot of love, because everyone is doing it for the right reason, which is they want to create something. And Sam's doing it as a director and as a writer. He wants to create something out of nothing. As a producer, I think the less you can spend on making something, the more chance you might get some of that money back. We've not made a profit yet. And from the acting side, it is just being able to go and do whatever you want to do that you feel is right. Put your heart into the project. And that's what should come across, and that's what people really need to look at. You get all the big budget stuff, yeah, people are getting paid to do the job. We use people who want to do the job.
That's great. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the horror film festival in the first place, and particularly the support UK horror package, is that I really want people to see these films. They're great, and as you say, you watch it, open your heart to them. You see the passion and the hard work that goes into these things, and you can really enjoy them. There's some gems out there. There really are.
I was just going to say, they're always going to be a bit like messy and a bit rough around the edges, but that's how creators learn, by doing it. And
yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I mean, I grew up on like the Evil Dead and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you can't get much more low budget and and grimy than that. This is just a different extension of that. It's just English and shot on video.
Yeah. Every one of us is looking for our Blair Witch.
It will happen. It will happen. That's great. There's a bit of a community. Obviously, all the films that we've got in this little package, everyone seems to know each other. And Martin, you're obviously starring in most of these films or appearing in most of these films.
Well, not most of them.
All of them. Every single one.
Yeah, I mean the UK horror filmmaking community is. I saw a post on Facebook once. Someone saying it's a very small community, and one of the responses that he got to that reference was, "Well, if you don't want to be in it, then get out." He, of course, was meaning everybody knows each other, and it's very true. I think within myself, I've worked for various people across the country, and you've got small groups of people in major cities everywhere, and with the horror connection, they are all in touch with each other to some extent. And I think the films that you've got selected in this, Exit, Ice Cream, Millennial Killer, all of those are sort of been swept together through another film festival down in Southend, which is just a really friendly environment for everyone to actually talk, and has no barriers, and that's how it should be. There should be no barriers. If you want to watch films, you should be able to talk to the filmmakers. If you want to shoot a film, you should be able to talk to actors. If you want to be in films, like me, you just make sure you go and ask and make a nuisance of yourself. That's all I've done.
The thing is, like, creativity should always be communal. It should always be an experience that you can share. And from the sense of like the production side, or just completing the films and being able to talk to people and sharing each other's work, like online or attending screenings, whatever you can do. And I love the fact that the indie UK horror community definitely does that. And it doesn't feel like anyone's ego-based. It just seems like we all want to help each other out and make some good horror films. And maybe cameo in a few each other's films. Yeah. And it's just really nice. And I'm really happy we've got to include these films, because they are great films. I love those films.
Yeah, it's definitely the way it seems to be coming across. From the more I talk to you guys, all of you, and there is that lovely community where you all know each other and you're helping each other out, which is brilliant. what's next, basically? I think what are you guys working on now?
And well, the film that me and Martin recently did together, which he produced, is a film called Senseless, which we shot over the summer from a successful Indiegogo campaign. And it's like a surrealist fantasy horror. That was a really interesting challenge. We shot it all at nighttime in August, so it was during like, you know, when lockdowns get a bit more chilled out. And yeah, it was strange and different. We tried to minimalize actors, and myself and cinematographer Jackson played some of the creatures you see. Ryan Carter's in it, and yeah, that's the thing we've been most recently just finished doing. And I know we've got a bunch of films that are coming out from next year, such as Monstrous Disunion, which is Jackson Batchelor, the cinematographer of Millennial Killer's first film. And we've just launched an Indiegogo for Acting and Decline's festival run, which is 2 other films we recently produced, to try and get them out further to more festivals. So trying to keep busy. This year has all been about adapting as much as possible to the new situation we're in.
Yeah.
It's going okay so far.
So it hasn't slowed you down too much?
No, not too bad. We had ideas that we wanted to do, and then we go, okay, can't do them. We'll do them later. Let's see what we can do right now. It's all we can do, you know?
Yeah, that's a similar conversation I had with another director a few minutes ago. So yeah, same thing.
Yeah, and I think Trash Arts, Sam's production company, was in a really good place with a lot of stuff that had been filmed at the beginning of the first lockdown in March, and therefore was already in post-production, so therefore just carried on being in post-production and get through that. As he's just referred to, Senseless, specifically designed to be filmed in a outdoor environment, small cast and crew, all basically being COVID compliant for that. And that's the flexibility that exists within independent filmmaking. As Sam's just said, you plan something, you can't do it, you change to do something else. I mean, in terms of what's next for me is I don't know, because of the situation. I suspect probably Mosaic, which is the follow-on film, not a follow-up, it's not a sequel or anything like that, but it's coming from the same guys that did Ice Cream on the Beach. So I'm in that, and if that gets filmed first, that's what's coming next. I've got various other things and a few that are just on hold going, hey, we can't do this yet. So we'll wait and see. But independent filmmaking, generally horror filmmaking in the UK, will survive, will come back just as strong, will be much needed. And I think in 2022, 2023, there's going to be an awful lot out there because people are suddenly going to have that creativity release, and we're going to be able to get filming and get something onto the screen.
Also, when things get more bleak, you get better horror films.
Yeah.
So the worse society gets, the better the creativity you'll get. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, and just on that point, we've got Monstrous Disunion, which was something that we actually filmed last year. We tried filming in one weekend, and just 1 month before we were due to leave Brexit, or the Brexit leave date in October, something went wrong with the filming. So we had to replan it, and we were probably some of the few people in the country going, let's just hope Brexit gets delayed, because the whole of Monstrous Disunion is related to Brexit, and if we can delay it long enough, we can actually get Monstrous Disunion out there. So that will be coming out fairly shortly. As Sam said, that's off to distributor, so that will come out, and it is exactly that sense of people looking at Brexit and going, let's make a horror film about it. Creativity comes out of disaster.
Brilliant. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for letting us show your film. So I loved it. Hopefully everyone else out there loves it. Thanks for your time, and look forward to whatever you do next.
Yeah. Thank you for yours.
Hope the rest of you guys as well. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.